Gaius Julius Caesar, born in 100 BC into a patrician family, the gens Julia, was destined to live during one of the most volatile periods of the Roman Republic. Though his family claimed descent from the goddess Venus and the Trojan prince Aeneas, they were not among the wealthiest or most politically dominant. His early life was marked by the intense political rivalry between his uncle by marriage, Gaius Marius, and the conservative dictator Sulla. Sulla's victory and subsequent proscriptions forced the young Caesar to flee Rome briefly, an experience that likely instilled in him a deep understanding of the ruthless nature of Roman politics and the necessity of military backing for survival. Having returned to Rome and begun his rise on the cursus honorum, the sequential order of public offices, Caesar demonstrated a keen ambition, serving first as a military tribune and later as a quaestor in Spain. His tenure as aedile was financially ruinous but politically brilliant, as he spent lavishly on public games and gladiatorial spectacles, cultivating a deep popularity among the plebeians that his aristocratic rivals both envied and feared. By the age of 40, Caesar realized that the traditional path to power was too slow for his aspirations. In 60 BC, he engineered the formation of the first triumvirate, a secret and highly illegal political alliance. He brought together Rome's two most powerful men, Marcus Licinius Crassus, who held unimaginable wealth and influence, and Gnaeus Pompey Magnus, Pompey the Great, a celebrated military hero. This triumvirate was a private political machine designed to circumvent the Senate AS authority and ensure each member achieved his goals. Caesar leveraged this alliance to secure the consulship in 59 BC, during which he pushed through radical agrarian and financial reforms to appease the populares and gain the provinces he truly desired for his next venture, Gaul. This was a clear demonstration of his willingness to disregard established political norms to achieve his objectives, setting the stage for future conflict. Caesar's appointment as proconsul of Cisalpine Gaul, Illyricum, and later Transalpine Gaul in 58 BC gave him the military command he needed. For the next 8 years, the Gallic Wars would define his legend and fundamentally change the Roman world. He did not merely govern, he launched a brutal, relentless campaign to conquer the entirety of Gaul, an area encompassing modern France, Belgium, and parts of Switzerland. He led his legions with incredible speed and strategic brilliance, defeating numerous powerful tribes, including the desperate resistance led by the chieftain Vercingetorix at Alesia. Furthermore, Caesar became the first Roman general to build a bridge across the Rhine River into Germanic territory, and to launch invasions of Britain, actions that cemented his image as a nearly mythical figure in the minds of the Roman people and his fiercely loyal soldiers. These campaigns resulted in the death or enslavement of millions of Gauls, the acquisition of immense personal and state wealth, and, crucially, the creation of a massive, experienced, and personally devoted army, the true instrument of his ultimate power. While Caesar was conquering an empire to the north, the political situation in Rome devolved into chaos. The death of Crassus in Parthia dissolved the triumvirate, leaving Caesar and Pompey as the sole, increasingly antagonistic rivals. Pompey, now allied with the Senate and fearing Caesar's growing power, demanded that Caesar relinquish his military command and return to Rome, as a private citizen to face prosecution for his illegal actions during his consulship. Faced with political ruin and possible execution, Caesar made the defining gamble of his life. On January 10, 49 BC, he led his army across the Rubicon River, the legal boundary separating his province from Roman Italy. This act was an unequivocal declaration of civil war against the Republic. His famous utterance, "Alea iacta est," the die is cast, signaled his irrevocable commitment to the path of revolution. The ensuing 4-year civil war saw Caesar chase his enemies across the entire Mediterranean world. The speed of his initial advance caught Pompey and the conservative Senate off guard, forcing them to flee Italy to Greece. The decisive conflict came at the Battle of Pharsalus in 48 BC, where Caesar's veteran legions, despite being outnumbered, utterly crushed Pompey's forces. Pompey fled to Egypt, where he was immediately assassinated by agents of the Ptolemaic court, an act that deeply angered Caesar, who soon involved himself in the dynastic struggle there. This led to his famous affair with the Egyptian queen Cleopatra VII, and a son, Caesarion, further intertwining his personal and political destiny with the East. Following key victories against Pompey's remaining supporters in Africa and Spain, Caesar returned to Rome as the undisputed master of the Republic. Caesar was repeatedly appointed dictator, culminating in his designation as Dictator Perpetuo, dictator for life, in 44 BC. This was the turning point that alarmed his conservative rivals. The title essentially meant a rejection of the republican tradition and a permanent concentration of power in one man's hands. As dictator, he implemented an astounding array of sweeping, lasting reforms. He stabilized the grain supply, launched massive public works to generate employment, redistributed public land to the poor, and reformed the tax structure of the provinces. Most famously, he replaced the faulty Roman lunar calendar with the Julian calendar, a solar model that, with minor modifications, remains the basis of the Western calendar today. However, these acts of benevolence were overshadowed by his clear monarchical tendencies, including the placement of his own image on coins and accepting excessive honors, which confirmed the worst fears of those who believed he intended to become King of Rome. The ultimate reaction to Caesar's absolute power was a conspiracy led by dozens of senators, most notably Marcus Junius Brutus and Gaius Cassius Longinus. These men were driven by a misguided conviction that by removing the tyrant, they could immediately restore the liberty and institutions of the old Roman Republic. On the Ides of March 15th, 44 BC, Caesar was lured to a Senate meeting held in the theatre of Pompey. He was surrounded and stabbed 23 times by the conspirators. The legendary moment of betrayal, often recounted with the final, anguished question, "Et tu, Brute?" addressed to his protégé, symbolized the tragic end of his life. Paradoxically, his assassination did not save the Republic. It merely plunged Rome into a final, bloody series of civil wars. The ensuing power vacuum was eventually filled by his adopted great-nephew, Gaius Octavian, who would avenge his death and, by becoming Augustus, would transform the unstable Roman Republic into the enduring Roman Empire that Caesar's ambition had made inevitable.